Okay, back to the braided hair. So what we will do here is we will select the hair. We're just going to have a look at the X-ray vision, see how high the topology is. We're going to change it, so we're going to click under the shape in the curve properties, put it down to something like 3 or 4. And what we're going to do is just experiment with that. 3 or 4 is fairly okay. Then we click on the circle, this curved circle, and also put it down to 3 or 4. This is not going to make it too sharp, but it'll be really good topology hopefully when we finish with it. So when we select the circle curve, we're going to press A to select all of it in edit mode, press V, and then go down to 3. This will then change the vertexes here on the handle so you can move them around just like we did with the hair beforehand. So what we are going to do is we're just moving these nicely into position, as you can see, for the braided hair. This will give it some depth and some interesting curvature for when we use this later. So if you want to scale it up, experiment with it and make it really pretty and nice. So you can experiment with different handles, just pull them in and out and just play around with it and find that best fits your plaits or braids, whatever you'd like to call them. Anyway, when you're done with this, what we're going to do is we are going to put this over here. We're going to press Shift A, go into curves, go down to path. We're going to bring in a path and just scale that down on the X axis just so it's end to end with the little plait we've just done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the braided hair and we are going to add a curve modifier on, and then use the pipette and select that path we just brought in, and then in object mode we're just going to move the braided hair back over the top. So as you can see now, when you select the path, now you can bend and move the hair to its will. So what we are going to do now, we have one array there, but we're going to bring in another array. So if we wanted to extend your braided hair, this is another really good idea, good way to do this. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to now, don't forget to extrude your path when you array your braided hair, and then as you can see it's not quite connected, so you just make sure your array modifier is above the curve, so the curve should be at the bottom in order for the modifier to take effect. And as you can see, press Ctrl T to rotate it, you can press Alt S to scale in and out. So this is an absolutely fantastic, brilliant way to make braided or different types of hair if you want to use them for your model. Okay, so for now, once we've finished our braided hair and that's ready to be placed on the model, what we are going to do is we're going to move this out of the way. Before I move on, you can actually select the braided hair and the path to scale it down, and then as you can see you can then scale it down together, and we're going to keep the circle curve and the braided hair together separately, as I was just experimenting, playing around with this and seeing what else you can do. Just showing you what you can do with it. So we're going to put this to side and we're going to get straight back onto the hair on the head. So with the front bit of the hair, all we're going to do is we're going to move it up on the head, bring it around as you can see, and bring that up and around on the side of the head, doing a arc all the way around to where the scrunchie is on the back of the head. So we've just used the previous hairstyles as a placeholder. It depends on what you want to do for the model. Now I've shown different ways through this course on how you can do hair, how you can do armor, how you can sculpt, all sorts of different ways, but different ways depending on what you want to do with the avatar. If you want to 3D print it, I'd keep with the stylized hair before doing any of this. If you want to model it and make it and rig it, then this is the optimal way. as we will get through the adding the bones to the hair and all that later. So for now, we're going to hide them, and we're going to use that as a midpoint at the end of the hair there. So I'm just rotating the points by pressing Ctrl T and making sure that sits nicely. Sometimes you can put clipping on just to make it look nicer. And then when you're ready, when you've done that front bit of the hair, now we're just going to go inside on the head. So basically now we're going to be doing this for the rest of this lesson. We're just placing the verts where we think is best for the head, and then when we finish we're selecting all the verts and then press Shift D to duplicate and then move them inside, and we'll keep going inside all the way, and now and again we'll turn the clipping on the mirror on the modifier on the right there when we want to push and move it to the side. Don't worry if you see some tearing in your hairlines when you're doing this. You can always just select 2 points, add a and subdivide 2 vertex. That'll create another vertex point, and then you can edit and move that too. So there is a number of ways just to keep it nice and flat, and you can always go back to the little circle, the curved circle, if you need to change any of the shape and the lines that you can see on the hair, any creases and stuff. And also what you could do at the end, when we're finished with the hair and everything, you can actually, when we convert it to mesh, you can then go to sculpt mode and just smooth down some bits and sculpt on the hairlines if any of them need to make, if you need to make them look better. There's always that option too. Also, I've noticed doing it this way, I thought it was quicker than the stylized hair. I think it depends what kind of finish you're going for. Now the reason I did it like this is I've seen a lot of artists and professionals do it like this as well, but there are multiple ways of stylizing hair, as this is one of a few, and then just using the sculpt technique as we learned previously in a previous lesson as well. But as we're going to rig the hair and add bones in it later, I thought this would be a better chance. We're not going to rig or add bones onto the top of the head. We'll be adding them for like the ponytail we're doing at the back of the head, and we're going to be adding the braids around the side like a female fantasy warrior girl. I thought the braids or the plaits would look really good for detail on the head. So as you can see here, all I'm doing here, I'm using a mouse by the way, I haven't even touched my graphics tablet doing this. You can use your graphics tablet if you prefer, but I found, well, I suppose it's personal preference really. You can use the graphics tablet or your mouse. You can just click and drag the gizmo when you're with the pen, or you can just do this with the mouse. As you can see, I keep going back to the curved circle bit. Feel free to just play around with it and make everything fit nicely on the head without trying to get any weird artifacts or any weird shadings or clipping if you can avoid it. So on the top of the head, all I'm trying to do here is make it nice and straight. A couple of times I press scale on the Z axis and press 0. That just flattens all the vertices if they're all selected. It can help now and again. And when you stretch the vertices, I've also noticed it can avoid any artifact clipping, scaling, or some jagged looking geometry changes. So there we go. So that's everything for this lesson, and we're going to finish off the hair hopefully in the next lesson. I'll catch you there.